learn tonight's breaking news surrounding Edson Alvarez, as we have made a €50 million offer to sign the Mexican DM from Ajax. Following this, we have some sensational news surrounding Rafael Leao, as we are currently holding contacts and conversations to sign Leao before the window ends. And to end with things, we have huge, big updates on Gvardiol from RB Leipzig. Wow. Like, the way this window is potentially ending is just not making any sense whatsoever. It's really become FIFA career mode at this point in time. Some of the deals we could potentially get done by 11 PM tomorrow is not making sense. I'm here to make sense of these stories. I hope you guys enjoy. Please smash that like button if you're incredibly excited for deadline day. And to not waste any more time, let's get straight into things. So right now, let's discuss these breaking developments coming out from Holland. We are making efforts to sign Edson Alvarez. We have made a €50 million offer. Now, things are a bit difficult because in the Dutch window, their deadline day does end tonight, 1 second before midnight comes. So it literally is a race against time, and it feels like Edson Alvarez understands what the situation is and what his mission has to be. He has made things incredibly clear to Ajax. Listen, I want out. You denied me a move to Stade Rennes. Why do we want to go there? You denied me a move to Newcastle. Why do you go there either? Now, literally, like, you've got the perfect opportunity in your hands. I can understand why you can't let this one go. The report suggests that he could earn up to 4 times the amount he's currently earning at Ajax. He's currently earning around 18,000 a week, so if you're quadrupling that, he could earn around £72,000 plus a signing on fee. This is an incredible opportunity. Now, at this point in time, he isn't the only Ajax player hoping to force a move away. Currently, Mohamed Kudus as well too is on strike, as he wants to get a move completed to Everton before the window ends. So it's looking like a very peak situation at Ajax. Alvarez demands that Ajax hold talks with us to get this move over the line. Do Ajax really have too much power at this point in time? Who knows? I mean, they're receiving a healthy amount of money. So I guess right now I'm going to give you guys some analysis on Edson Alvarez to understand who the player is, what his position is, and what to expect from him if we get this deal over the line. Now, I guess my first thought is this a Todd Boehly signing or is this a Thomas Tuchel signing? Now, there was some reports that came out earlier this week suggesting that we could be potentially thinking about using a 4-3-3 system. I felt like after we signed for Fana, his introduction would allow us to play like that. But we do need to have a DM, as Jorginho, of course, needs to be used in a very specific way to mitigate some of his weaknesses in the transition. And this is where Edson Alvarez comes into play, because he is the DM that could unlock this team, that could allow us to use more attacking players in the lineup and hopefully bring some more width back to the team, which is the ideal thing I feel we have to see to have a bit more imagination now in our game. Now, let me break down this game a bit more in terms of the crucial aspects. I need my DM that's comfortable on the ball, good in possession, that has crisp passing, that is able to understand when to make the right pass at the right time, that is able to scan his environment, that's able to find positions behind the midfield lines to constantly be an outlet to help us play out from the back. And honestly, Alvarez does all of this to a T. And I actually have to say, credit goes out to Ten Hag for like really developing his overall game. And as Ten Hag himself said last season, of course, because of his improvement and development as a player, it actually allowed Ajax to be a bit more imaginative in terms of some of their forward attacks. And this is the full power of what a DM can bring to a team. You know, Alvarez is a communicator. Alvarez is one of those players that, you know, looks after the defensive organization of his team. He offers a lot in terms of being in the right positions to help play out from the back as well too. And of course, in terms of his physicality, you know, the engine, he can run for days. He can cover those spaces in behind for days, and that is incredibly important, because if you have a DM, that implies that you're pushing more men forwards. So to mitigate those counterattacks, you need someone that has the pace, the stamina, and the ability to cover those spaces out wide. His passing is quite good, and I think his passing could develop and grow even more actually. You know, his progressive passing stats are decent. He's playing about 6-5 passes into the final third all the time. In terms of how he plays up from the back too, he's quite intelligent in terms of how he, you know, makes like these like decoy runs to try and create space for himself. And, you know, he regularly finds those passes between the lines all the time, which is important if you have players in the half spaces looking to receive. And I think that's why Ten Hag just found him so useful last season. He's very important in helping his team construct attacks out from deep. And that is the important thing that's needed. I feel like now is the right time for him to move on to another club now, to test himself and go to the next level. In terms of his overall game, I think this guy is very good in the defensive phase in particular. I think his passing is very good and astute in helping his teams play out from the back as well too. And I think he has that physicality to be able to play in the Premier League and give us some real powerful presence in the base of our midfield. So let's hope we can get this deal over the line, you guys. For me, this is a very interesting and exciting DM due to the tactical possibilities this can now give us going into the new season. So how do you guys feel about this news? Let us all know below. Does this spell the end for Declan Rice? Probably not. And I guess it depends what happens with the futures of N'Golo Kante and Jorginho. So right now, let's move on to the next story and let's discuss the big news surrounding Rafael Leao. So right now, let's discuss the latest developments surrounding Rafael Leao. And these reports first came from the Times. Essentially, we are in talks currently at this point in time to try and get a deal over the line to sign Rafael Leao. Is it impossible to get this deal done? Not technically. And just hear me out as this video goes on. Now I get it, some of you guys may be feeling needy, like we need a midfield. You know, we have guys that aren't fully fit. We have players that are injured. You know, we need to address the critical area of the team, and that is signing a DM. I think the club originally had plans to do so, but I think realistically in terms of the options on the market, they didn't really materialize or exist. I think Rice is one for next summer at least. Regardless, we still need to add a bit of X factor to our attack, and I think Rafael Leao is the option that is desperately needed to try and take us to a different level. Now, some reports do suggest that signing Leao would be easier at this point in time compared to signing Frenkie De Jong. And let's not forget what was discussed in the previous video on Leao. We know that Mendes and his lawyer both want him to leave AC Milan and sign for us. Of course, they have a massive payday in their favour if that happens. And of course, it's down to the fact that Leao still owes money, of course, to Sporting Lisbon. And they know that if he was to sign for us, all that gets paid off and things get cleared. Now, the only issue is that we have to find a figure that is close to his full release clause, which is set at around 150 million euros, which is around 128 million pounds. Now, ideally, could our 120 million euro bids, like 100 million, be enough to get this deal over the line? You'd like to think so. Realistically, Milan could never, ever, ever sell Leao for this valuation. So realistically, when opportunities like this come, sometimes you have to take them. Now, reports in Italy are suggesting that AC Milan see Martinelli of Arsenal as a replacement for Leao in case he goes. Now, Martinelli has been developing very, very well, but Milan feel like if the price is right, a deal could happen. And that's because currently Martinelli has 2 years left on his existing deal. And normally this is the prime time to make moves for players when they have 2 years left on their contracts. I feel like Milan could persuade Martinelli to sign. I mean, they have Champions League football, the project's very exciting, and today they were recently acquired and bought by investment firm group Redbird Capital Partners for around 1.2 billion euros. I guess hypothetically, that money that Arsenal could receive by selling Martinelli could help them fund that move to sign Neto for moves instead. Still though, it's reported that if we can find an agreement to sign Leao, he is more than happy to make the move to sign for us, which is the exciting news you want to hear. We know that his agent and lawyers, as I said already, want to make this move happen. And I guess for me, realistically, the only way I could see this deal getting over the line is if Milan would accept one of our players as part exchange plus money on top to get this deal over the line. Realistically, we have two players in Hakim Ziyech where his move to Ajax is looking a bit indifferent at this point in time, and we're currently keeping Pulisic against his best wishes. He was desperate to get a move away from us this summer. That was blocked due to the lack of options. So I imagine both players would easily be decent replacements for Leao if they were to make that move to Milan. And considering that Milan have been bought and acquired now by a US investment firm, the star boy of their country, the guy that everyone in the States will look towards when the World Cup takes place, playing for AC Milan of course, and playing with these young talents they also have. Let's see what happens. I feel optimistic, and I feel like we do have the money to make something happen. So how do you guys feel, Rafael Leao? Do you think we can get this deal done before the window ends? Let us all know below. So right now, let's continue to discuss the big reports, and let's talk all the latest developments on Joško Gvardiol. Now, interestingly enough, some reports are suggesting that there's growing confidence that a deal can be done and a valuation can be met. But at the same time, some reports are also suggesting that we may look to postpone the deal until January at least. And this is where things get a bit interesting. At this point in time, Leipzig are already in the market now looking for potential replacements for Gvardiol. And interestingly enough, they've gone back to the same club in Dynamo Zagreb. the club they originally bought Gvardiol from, by targeting Josip Sachalo. Now it seems like it would take a fee of around 80 million plus 7 million in add-ons to get that deal over the line. However, Zagreb could technically ask for a bit more money if they felt like Sachalo would be the replacement for Gvardiol, so let's see what continues to happen. But anyway, it feels like the valuation of £77.7 million, around 90 million euros, is a valuation we could be happy to pay if that's the final one. If Leipzig don't continue to keep increasing valuations and valuations and valuations. And that's because The Athletic gave us some context behind how RB Leipzig have been continuing to boost the price up of Gvardiol time and time again. It was originally around 70 million euros. That then became 80 million euros, and that's now 90 million euros. Regardless though, there's growing optimism that a deal can still get done. And I think there's one thing that our new owners have shown throughout this window is that no deal is too impossible and no deal is too big. So let's see what they're able to pull out the bag. But of course it comes down to RB Leipzig, and let's hope that our good relationship with them works in our favour. Now their chief executive came out to state that Joshko still has a contract with us until 2026. We assume that he will not play with us this season, but also next season. And essentially it comes down to this. I mean, Leipzig are in full control. His contract ends in 2026. They have him for another 4 years. So technically, they may feel, okay, if we can get offers of 90 million euros now, what if after a World Cup, for example, where he's one of the best young players in the world, he has a standout World Cup for his national team? What if that boosts the value even more now to around 100 million or more? So when you see it from that context, it makes sense as to why we'd hope to get a deal completed before the World Cup comes, because traditionally, World Cups boost the valuation of players to ridiculous heights. Regardless though, if we sign them in this window in January, we have our Thiago Silva successor lined up. I feel like it could potentially happen. If you're looking at competition from your Madrids maybe, I'm not too sure. Man City, well, we've just signed a Kanji, and I guess they'd have to sell players to fund a move for Gvardiol. But other than that, I do feel like there's a possibility here that we could do something to try and sign him. Let's continue to see how this story develops. So right now, let's discuss the latest news surrounding Billy Gilmour. And at this point in time, it seems like the player is now set soon to sign for Brighton on a permanent deal. And this is very interesting. So basically, he'll follow in the same footsteps as your Lampteys, currently as a Levi Corals. I guess in the end, ultimately, I always got the vibe that Thomas Tuchel just didn't really fancy the player. And I always thought maybe the main reason behind why was that lack of physical presence, that lack of authority in the game. I think he has the authority in terms of his thinking, his technique, how he moves the ball, but he doesn't have the physicality to really match. You'd think that with Jorginho being able to find himself a first team place week in, week out, it wouldn't make much of a difference knowing that Gilmour suits the style that Tuchel of course wants in his midfield. But for some reason, Tuchel just hasn't really fancied the player. I think maybe it is best now for Gilmour to move on. We can't forget that when he first was making his name at the highest level, in that 19-20 season, if you guys literally go on YouTube, type in Billy Gilmour, you'll see videos with millions of views, hundreds of thousands of views. I mean, this guy was capturing the attention of the entire country when he was first making his introduction to first team football for good reason. We can't forget the performances versus Everton, versus Liverpool. He had great games versus Man City as well too. He played very well during the Euros as well too. And to be doing all of this as a teen, getting your introduction to the men's game. I feel like he passed every single test presented his way. And it kind of feels a bit sad in the sense that ultimately all of that meant nothing. Maybe I'm being a bit too cynical. Just because you don't make it here with us doesn't mean that you can't go on to have an incredible career. And I think going to Brighton is the best move for him to make at this point in time. Working under Graham Potter, who not only is a tactician, but he is also a coach as well too, who knows how to work alongside young players to develop their game and improve them. Now Gilmour will have to fight for his spot. They have great talents like Mwepu, Casado, McAllister, etc, but I feel like it'll be easier for him to be able to break into that team. He definitely has filled up a bit more, and I think that his style of football will get maximized playing under a manager and a system that literally uses that as a requirement. So good luck to Gilmour. I hope he has an incredible career. I'll be following him very closely. And on that note, you guys, that is all the news wrapped up today. Who knows what may come out as the evening progresses. So on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.